Bon appetit. Hi, I'm Roger Waller, your host for Delta College Impact. On today's program, as you can imagine by watching that early footage, we're going to be talking food and we're going to be talking about the Delta College Culinary Arts program. And joining me on the first half of the segment, we have two of our culinary arts instructors, Char and John Britto, and we're going to be talking to them about what goes into our program here at Delta College. And on the second half of the program, you want to stay with us because we're going to be learning about how to make crepe Suzette, so stay tuned for that. And I'm getting hungry already. But Char and John, welcome to Impact. And Char, let's begin with you. What's the Delta College Culinary Arts program all about?
It's about cooking and teamwork and learning and preparing students for a job. And the students in the program are absolutely fantastic. We started with 9, and now we have about 100 students.
And when you say you started with 9, that was just a few years ago that you started to put together this solid foundation of programs. How long has it taken you to build up to that 100 students?
Okay, we started in '79, so time passes quickly. We're going to have a 20th anniversary. Hope to do it in the fall semester, have some kind of celebration, bring back former students.
Oh, and I think that that's really the key. And I know, John, one of the things as we look at the Culinary Arts program, it's an evolving program, isn't it? It's not something that stays the same from the 20 years that it's been in existence. What are some of the changes that we've seen lately?
I think the program is a reflection of the changes in society. Those forces that affect society obviously have to trickle down to the students in terms of technology and production and transportation of the food, as well as greater awareness of nutrition and so forth. So we constantly have to go out and shop and go to restaurants and go to seminars and conventions and bring back ideas, as well as stay current through literature, because the questions that come from the students reflect their involvement in the society that they come from.
You know, it's interesting when you mention this because I sort of picture now going back 20 years that it was all fried chicken and some of these other things. Are you seeing this change in food and our expectations as diners impacting the program? And Char, what are some of the specific food changes that you've seen?
I think right now we're seeing a big Asian influence that we haven't seen before. More fish with fruit dishes, lighter dishes, entree salads. I don't know that we're doing that to desserts, though. I don't see them becoming any less calorie conscious. But the other emphasis that we have is computer work that we didn't have before. I mean, 20 years ago, we weren't involved with computers at all, and now we are in all of the classes. And in the student chef class, they put the order in, and the order gets printed in the kitchen, and we try and duplicate what they're going to find in what we call the real world.
And I think that's a great point when we talk about some of the different programs, like a student chef program. Now, when a student comes and joins Delta in the Culinary Arts program, what's involved in the program? What would be some of the specific steps that they would take in preparation for that vocational aspect of culinary arts?
Well, I like to think that we're in a position to do some fair amount of tailoring. And we spend a great deal of time in lab and in classes, you can imagine, and we get to know the students and their aspirations and their likes and dislikes. And so we try to tailor through assignments and research assignments, research that they're going to pursue as a career. Certainly everyone has to take safety and sanitation, without a doubt. Regardless of where you go in this industry, you have to be aware of that. We also have a hospitality overview course where they actually go to a variety of sites and interact with people doing the job that they think they might want to do. We have management, we have production, food production, baking, purchasing and menu planning, and just the whole gamut of all aspects of this industry.
And I know Char was talking a little bit about the real great output of our students, and not always the food, but the students are a great output for our program. Now, a number of our students go on and they can continue their career and also as well as going into a job environment. Where are some of the other schools that our students have progressed to as they've continued their education?
Well, like you said, the majority of them stay here in Stockton and work as cooks because that's what they want to do. They really, really like to cook. Some of them have gone on to CIA, which is in Hyde Park, New York.
And CIA being the...
Culinary Institute of America. And some have gone to CCA, which is California Culinary in San Francisco. One of the students, or two of the students, went to San Jose State. Some have gone to UNLV to get their bachelor's
Johnson
degrees.
and Wales.
Johnson and Wales is another one.
Yeah. When you said going to the CIA, I was really worried a little bit about the food program, but CIA being the Culinary Institute. Now, John, when you start to think about the training of a student and you start to think about what they get exposure to, we're talking about that person who is going fully through a program. Can I be a dabbler and take some of your classes? Let's say I only wanted to learn about soups or something like that. Can I do that?
Absolutely. We offer a number of what we call short-term courses that last anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the particular discipline. And so many of our students drop in, as it were, to take 3 weeks dabbling in this and 3 weeks dabbling in that, and they find out that they have so much fun and they're learning a great deal, so they come back and they take a semester or two. For folks, it's good to start out at a community college program like this to determine whether or not this is really for them. It's an awful lot of work. So it's better to find out now before you say, I'm going to plunk down $40,000 for CIA.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to go to a tape, and we want to show our audience some of the output of all of your efforts. And what we're looking at is a tape from our Culinary Arts annual dinner. And Char, what's the purpose of the Culinary Arts dinner?
Well, it gives the students an experience in preparing something that they haven't prepared in class. That's the first thing. Second is it's a fundraiser. So this year we received $12,000 worth of silent auction gifts. Then that evening we presented $3,000 worth of scholarships to students, including an incoming high school student. So there's Steve.
And so you really have the opportunity of gaining scholarships for our students. Now, John, the table setups are terrific. Does a student learn how to do that, or does that just come naturally?
Very little, except for the actual eating of the food, comes naturally. Virtually everything is more complicated than it appears on the surface. For instance, what side do knives and forks and spoons go on? Where do you serve, and beverages and so forth? But every aspect of a restaurant operation, and whether it's buffet or banquet work as well, is part of our program.
And so that napkin folding also enters into it. So now we think of all we do is we see what comes out on our plate, but this is the background. Now, what's involved with the student getting involved in their preparations here?
First of all, they have to learn the language. The French culinary, i.e. crepes, Suzettes, etc. There's a whole lot of terms and phrases and slang that's unique to our industry that students have to know. And then there's the weighing and measuring, and then there's the use of equipment, and again, the safety. Mm-hmm. All that before they even pick up a knife and an onion.
And I know you're dealing with equipment that can produce large quantities of food as well as that specialty individual dish. Now I can see the importance of presentation even as you lay out the food going to get cooked. It becomes important.
Planning and organization is the key. There's a number of items that go on a plate. Sometimes as many as 12 items will end up on a single plate. It's absolutely essential they all be the right texture, the right temperature at the same time.
And I know when you're dealing with quantities like the Culinary Arts Dinner, the key is the people get the food while it's still warm, and I know that planning certainly enters into it. How do you do menu selections? Are the students involved in that also?
They have a menu planning class, and we certainly interact, but the students don't have that depth yet to maximize or to identify where the weakest link is in terms of this total production. So I have to provide a lot of guidance initially, and then towards the end of the semester they learn a great deal and they come forth because they know the limitations of time.
Yeah. Now, one of the nice things is I guess everything they put on the plate tends to be edible, even the designing that goes into this. Now that's really art. Who gets involved in that sort of training?
Char, do you want to answer that?
Oh, the pastry students were doing that evening, and that took hours for them to decorate the plates like that. And you're right, it is all edible. Anytime you have any kind of display of food, if you're working under ACF, which is American Culinary Federation, everything is edible.
And of course, our title is Culinary Arts, so certainly everything we do has to have some artistic flair.
That's a great point. I think that's important to emphasize is the art aspect of the food. It's just not, it's the dining experience, so to speak, that you're involved in. Now, the students actually do everything in this dinner from the standpoint of cooking the food, laying out the table settings, and delivering the food as well. Now, Char talked a little bit about the importance of attitude. How do you get that student to have the right attitude on delivering that food?
You know, I think some of it is just that they all care about each other, and they've learned to respect what good food is. And so and also they're all volunteering, so there's a tremendous camaraderie with all the students. They really pull together for something like this.
I think also if you were to examine what makes up successful people in the hospitality industry is that passion to satisfy and please people.
And I tell you, that is obviously a wonderful success that you have on the Culinary Arts Dinner. And that is open to the public. We do want to stress that people have the opportunity every year to go to that Culinary Arts Dinner and to enjoy the output. But in addition to the once-a-year experience, I know you also have a almost weekly experience during the semester. Let's talk a little bit about the Student Chef Program. I know, John, that's your baby this semester. What's involved in the Student Chef Program?
The students are placed into teams, and it's a mixed class in that we have intermediate and advanced students. And they're placed into teams and they rotate between three primary areas. One is the management and the service in the restaurant itself. The other is the production of the pastry, and the third, of course, being the food production. And they rotate. And the advanced students provide supervision and management as well as mentoring for the intermediate students so that they, the following semester, will take over those roles.
And I think we should point out that the Student Chef is our campus-run restaurant here at Delta College, that the students put out a tremendous display of food, not your regular cafeteria-style food. And the Student Chef this semester has been open 2 days a week.
It's Wednesdays and Thursdays, 11:15
But that varies
to
from
12:30.
semester to semester, I know.
Yeah, I think we're going to be pretty constant with that from this point on, though.
And the public is invited.
Absolutely.
And what are some of the menu selections that you try to come up with, just to give people an idea of the type
Good
of
point.
food?
The menu changes every day. We never have the same menu. In addition to, we have double entrees, sometimes triple entrees. We also have a special salad, and we always have at least 2 desserts. And the choices are between the soup and salad, which comes with the meal, and some of the items might be tarragon chicken wrapped in phyllo purses with a tarragon reduction, maybe broccoli almondine, glazed carrots pernod, just things like that.
I tell you, and I did not have lunch here, so I do want to point this out. That one of the things we also want to do is we're going to go to another tape and give you a little bit of an idea of some of the other aspects that go on here in the Delta Culinary Arts Program. And John, this is your little hobby here. Let's talk a little bit about your Chefs of the World. What are these guys, and how'd you ever find them all?
Interesting. It's out of control, actually. I have to tell you. I started collecting them some years ago as training aids for a class. It struck me that as I was looking at these figurines, that they were almost invariably men who were overweight, who had mustaches, who looked to be extremely Eurocentric. And so I would bring them to class and I would say, "What do you see?" And they'd say, "Oh, chefs." And then they would say, "Figurines." And I'd look closely. And of course, there was no diversity. So it started as a training aid. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And now people tell me it's the most unusual collection they've ever seen because I have almost 200.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know just looking at the different, and one of the other things that I noticed is they all tend to have a smile on their face, John.
I mentioned earlier, this is the hospitality industry, and our aim is to make people happy.
And I think that these guys certainly convey that as you start to look at the figurines and you start to think about people and their enjoyment of food, which is such an important part of our program. So it's kind of fun to look at these and to just think about your collection. You put this on display, I know, here at Delta for a good period of time for the community to see, and hopefully you'll be bringing that back so others can enjoy that periodically.
It's the first time it's ever been displayed.
You did a great job. I know it was exciting to see. Now, from our standpoint, one of the things that we want everybody to think about is to think about, let's learn about how to actually work with the food. And when we come back from our break, we're going to be coming back to learn a little bit about how to put together that crepe Suzette. And we'll be back with more of John and Char and a couple of students, and we start to put everything into practice. So stay tuned after this brief public service message, and we'll be back with Delta College Impact and some tasty advice for all of us.
College invites San Joaquin County children and teens to the adventure of a lifetime. Sign up now for unique educational experiences in the performing arts, music, science, crafts, and adventures in reading and math. Parents, don't miss this opportunity to enrich your children's learning experience with exciting and innovative educational programs. The adventure starts at Delta College. Call now.
Welcome back to Delta College Impact, and you've just been watching a little bit more of the artwork of our culinary arts program in ice sculpturing. And on the first half of the program, we talked with John and Char Britto of our culinary arts department about some of the programs that we're involved in. And John, you might talk a little bit about your ice sculpturing class and the use of that chainsaw.
Well, I mentioned earlier that safety and sanitation is part of our total program, although the safety we're talking about in that class is a little different than the use of the chainsaw. Ice carving is a 6-week course that's taught like every other semester, so you may want to check the schedule to find out if what's going to be offered this particular coming semester. Students learn all manner of food production as well as how to present it, and that's where the ice sculpture comes into play. Once you get the food on the table, you also need to make sure that it's attractive.
Hey, that looked like a lot of fun, too, on a warm day. It looked like ice sculpturing is the thing to do. Well, you've probably noticed the two ladies in the middle here, and they're two students of our culinary arts program. We have Sandy Hernandez right here, and then we have Erica Sorensen, and they're involved in our culinary arts program. And Sandy, maybe I can ask you first, how long have you been involved in the program?
About a few years now.
And I know you switched from one major to culinary arts. What was it that said I wanted to get into culinary arts?
Because I love to cook.
Oh, hey, that sounds great. And Erica, I understand you'd also switched. What's gotten you into the culinary arts program?
Well, ever since I was little, I loved to bake, and it's just a passion of mine, and I wanted to become a pastry chef, and hopefully I'll own my own business sometime.
Oh, that sounds exciting. And well, today, Erica, what are we going to be making?
We'll be making crepe Suzettes, and first you just pour the sugar over the hot pan that is evenly heated. And once we see the sugar start to caramelize, we then add the orange zest and lemon zest and let it caramelize for a minute or two.
It should be pointed out that that batter needs to be made first, and that's what Sandy was trying to show us. So as that sugar caramelized, maybe Sandy can tell us about the batter and then about the crepe itself.
Yeah, that's correct. Sandy, what's involved with our batter over here?
Okay, first of all, you add 8 ounces of bread flour, 8 ounces of cake flour, 2 ounces of sugar, a pinch of salt, 7 eggs. You can use oil or clarified butter. And this is the product that you get. You don't want it too thick or too thin, because if it's too thick, then it's not going to coat the pan like it should. And if it is too thick, you can add half and half milk or even a little bit of water until you get the right consistency, which is like this. And this is the finished product of the crepe
And so this is what the crepe looks like after.
when it's finished.
Okay.
And you want it, maybe it could have been a little bit browner, but like I said, you don't, it has to have a nice color to present on the plate.
Great, and that's that art aspect again, isn't it, John, of making the crepe, every aspect of the food looking very nice.
Well, there's virtually nothing unimportant about this whole process. I mean, truly, you have to break the whole into parts and then look at the relationship of those parts. And it's like the size of the zest and the color of the orange that you use it for. And so that's why it's all detail-oriented, and these folks are doing really a great job here.
Now, with the batter, is this like a pancake? I then put it on a griddle?
It actually is a pancake batter, but thinner.
And it's unleavened. There's no baking powder inside.
Okay, and then once we've gotten our crepe, then we go on to Erica, and she's involved with the, what would you call this aspect of adding to your crepe here?
This is the sauce. It's an orange sauce, and we added the zest to give it more flavor. And I just added the butter here, and now I'm adding the juice
Orange sauce.
and the lemon juice to intensify the flavor. And we want to remain heating this until we get a nice, good-looking syrup.
And I noticed that constant movement of your spoon here. What are you looking for? Is just keeping everything
I'm
moving?
keeping everything moving so that everything has an even heat because the flame is directly
Yeah,
on the
it's
bottom.
directly in the center. So in some respects, it's not unlike stir-fry cooking or wok cooking because there's a small concentration of heat in the middle. And so obviously, if you leave it there, it's going to burn. So it's the movement that's important here.
Yes, and once we have our syrup made, we can then
Where are we going to? Okay. Sorry.
take the pan away. You want to take the pan away from the flame, then I'm adding Grand Marnier and cognac brandy, and then we want to then put it over the flame, tip it just a little, oops.
And you can't see it because of the TV lights, but it flames. And then it'll be nice and syrupy, and we'll be adding the crepes and going from there.
Okay. And you want to put the presentation side up and coat it with the syrup.
That comment about the presentation side, obviously if there's two sides, one looks better than the other. So the one that's the most visually appealing will be the one that's going faced up, because after you turn it over, that's going to be the side that the guest sees. So she's doing a good job getting it coated. And here again, this is not unlike working with an enchilada to make a tortilla to make an enchilada. And so if we start thinking about the world of cuisines, many of the techniques are used throughout the world by various cultures.
Well, it's amazing how rapidly you're able to do this also. I know that one of the things that you can start to think about, when I thought about crepe Suzettes, I'm thinking about a very expensive dessert somewhere, and yet the actual time that it takes is relatively very efficient. Very nice. Now, Sandy, how long has it taken you and Erica to get ready to do all this stuff? Is this a semester-long training to get to do crepe Suzettes?
Actually, probably anybody could make this recipe. And for us, we started about, 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Oh,
to
just
get
today.
Yeah, just to get the products ready and did a trial run to make sure it would come out right.
Now, is this like a final exam, John? Do you have all the students cook something for their final grade?
They cook all semester long.
Yes.
The ideal is that you start with the simple and move on to the more complex, and so that's all of education, whether it's a vocational type or academic type. And so what we're trying to do now, as we're ending towards the end of this semester, is do things like Bananas Foster and Cherries Jubilee and crepe Suzettes and tableside cookery. So they're doing fine. And so now, of course, this would be close to the table, and the guests would ooh and ah, and they would start doing some plate presentations. And yeah.
So Erica, you are now worrying about not only getting the food out of the pan as I would be, but you're also trying to arrange it so it looks
Oh, yes.
visually appealing.
And of course, the sauce goes on
And
there.
now we add the sauce. And
And there's one, and of course, they'll be
Here
taking
we
care
have
of that
the
border.
final
And then-
presentation, and we added an
And we're-
orange peel in the center, like a ribbon, and lime zest to finish off that, give that nice citrus.
Yeah, Erica, yeah,
Look.
sort of tip it up so that we can get a good camera shot of that, because that looks lovely, and that looks, as you would say, good enough to eat, as I'm sure is one of those things that you do every day in class. Well, I hope that we've all enjoyed learning a little bit more about how to do crepe Suzettes, and it gives you an idea of some of the output of the Culinary Arts program. And if you'd like to learn more about the Delta College Culinary Arts program, you can contact John or Char here at Delta College by calling them at 954-5516 or writing to the Culinary Arts program here at 5151 Pacific Avenue here in Stockton, zip code 95207. I think that we've really started to learn a lot about our Culinary Arts program, and I want to thank Sandy and Erica for putting together crepe Suzettes for our entire crew today, because I'm sure once we're done with the show, we're going to be eating real quick.
Sure.
And we want to thank all of you for watching today, as I will break into this as soon as I'm off camera so I don't drip on my tie. But I want to thank you for watching and encourage you to watch future Delta College Impact programs. And thank you very much. Bon appetit, everyone.